What if I told you there's a sound, just one, capable of unlocking your dormant energy in just 55 seconds? This isn't a metaphor. It's not a memorized mantra. It's a real vibrational code hidden for millennia by the Hermetic masters themselves. And it was Thoth who revealed it. But this sound isn't found in books. It was silenced because it activates something no system wants you to discover. The memory of who you truly are. And the most dangerous part of all is that this sound still lives inside you. Today, I'm going to show you what it is, why it works, and how to chant it the right way to activate this frequency and watch your energy shift in real time. But first, you need to understand why this knowledge was hidden from humanity for so long. And the answer lies in a manuscript that was never meant to be opened. The true name of things is not the one given by men, but the one they silently pronounce when returning to the source. For thousands of years, the great sages of ancient civilizations knew something that today seems unbelievable. They didn't just believe that sound had power. They knew how to use it to transform reality. It wasn't a metaphorical idea. It was a direct, concrete, precise practice. In Egypt, in Sumer, in Vedic India, and in the Greek mysteries, sound was treated as a sacred tool, an instrument of creation, a vibrational code capable of activating invisible processes and shaping what is visible. When they spoke of the creative word, they weren't being poetic. They were referring to an occult science passed down only to initiates. Sound, when chanted with precision and the right intention, wasn't just heard. It was felt in the flesh, absorbed by the energy field, and incorporated into the body as a living frequency. The stones of ancient temples still carry its resonance. In certain places, if you whisper, the sound expands. That's not by chance. It's vibrational engineering. Words had weight, syllables, rhythm, intonations, purpose. You didn't say something just because. You spoke because each sound carried a function, the right vibration, organized, aligned, restored. And that vibration didn't need to be loud or aggressive. It needed to be true, precise. And when chanted with presence, something unbelievable would happen. Matter would respond, the body would react, water would change its structure, the environment would purify, emotions would transform, and most importantly, the mind would leave the survival state and access a higher plane of consciousness. It was as if sound were a key, a secret password, a bridge between the invisible and the visible. That's why the ancients knew it wasn't just about speaking well. It was about vibrating with coherence. Sound was an energetic signature, and those who mastered this art didn't need to argue. Their presence changed the environment. Their voice aligned realities. That's why in healing rituals no medicine was used. They used chanting, recitation, sacred repetition sounds. That weren't just beautiful, they were effective. In Hermetic tradition, this was known as the principle of vibration. Everything vibrates. Everything pulses. Everything emits a frequency, and sound is the first impact of consciousness on matter. What you emit with your voice doesn't end at your lips. It spreads through the field. It moves through the subtle layers of reality. It reorganizes what once seemed fixed. And when done with the right intention, it breaks patterns of pain, scarcity, doubt, and fear. Not magically, but precisely. That's why true sound was protected. It was reserved. It wasn't to be used carelessly, because when chanted without awareness, it could cause the opposite. Chaos, imbalance, fragmentation. And this is where the most unsettling part comes in. This specific sound, this sacred frequency which was once common among the ancients, was deliberately hidden, erased from records, distorted in translations, replaced by soulless words, empty repetitions, memorized speeches that vibrate nowhere. Because this sound was dangerous. Not because it did harm, but because it set people free. And a human being who knows how to use the right sound with real intention becomes uncontrollable. They don't need an intercessor. They don't need doctrine. They no longer need the system because they've begun to command their own vibrational reality. And that, to a world built on control, is unacceptable. And that's how everything started to be forgotten. The word became noise. Vibration became distraction. People kept talking, shouting, sharing opinions. But without energy, without presence, without intention, And the word that once created now only repeats, now only reinforces the prison. Because when you don't know what you're emitting, your frequency collapses with the field around you. And that's why so many people feel stuck even when they say what they want to live. But the good news is that this sound still exists. It wasn't destroyed. It was only hidden, buried under layers of distraction. And today it's beginning to resurface. You might not know its name yet. No, but your body feels it. Your field recognizes it. Your soul vibrates with it. Because this sound isn't external. It's inside. And it's ready to be activated again. The revelation. The sound is I am. If the sound still lives, why doesn't anyone talk about it anymore? Because it was silenced and not by accident. This wasn't a historical mistake. It was a strategy. One of the most effective ever created to disconnect human beings from their own source of power. What was once sacred became superstition. What used to be vibrational science began to be labeled as dangerous mysticism. And little by little, the sound was erased from rituals, schools, chants, and even from memory. But the initiates knew what they were doing. They understood the risk. It wasn't just any sound. It was the one capable of igniting the inner fire. The same fire described in Hermetic scrolls. The fire that doesn't destroy, but reveals. The fire that burns in the chest and transforms every cell into a point of connection with the divine. And that was precisely why it had to be hidden, because anyone who accessed that fire, even for a moment, would never be the same again. This sound was used in secret rituals in the temples of Sekhmet in ancient Egypt. There was no music, no instruments, only silence and intention, until, at a specific moment of the initiation, the sound was chanted. And when that happened, something inside the initiate would break, as if the dense layers of fear, guilt, doubt, and attachment would peel away all at once. They didn't call it healing. They called it remembering because the soul wasn't sick. It was just forgotten. The phrase repeated among the hierophants was clear. The one who remembers commands. Because remembering your own origin is not just any memory. It's an activation. It's when the being stops asking for permission and starts vibrating silent authority. Not authority over others, but over oneself, over one's energy, over one's time, over one's reality. But then came the fall, not with wars or explosions. It was more subtle. It came through distraction, through excessive noise, through the prioritization of form over essence. Words continued to be spoken, but without vibration. Ceremonies kept happening but turned into performance. And the sound, the real sound, disappeared from human lips. With that, the age of disconnection began. Spirituality became belief. The body became a machine. The soul became an abstract concept. And the sound that once opened portals now echoed empty between phrases no one truly felt anymore. People spoke of faith but didn't vibrate in coherence. They prayed for help but emitted fear. They searched for light but carried the frequency of doubt. And the sound, that original sound, could no longer find space to manifest. But it was never destroyed. And that's what bothers those who still try to maintain control the most. The sound survived. It doesn't live in temples or in scriptures. It lives in the energetic field of the being, in a region so deep within your consciousness that it can't be accessed by common words. It's hidden between your pauses, your truest silences, the moments when you feel, without knowing why, that there's something more. The sound never ceased to exist. It only went dormant, and now it's starting to vibrate again. First as a discomfort, then as a calling, until finally it emerges with clarity. And when that happens, there's no going back. You begin to remember. You begin to feel. And that's when everything changes. Because this sound doesn't just awaken. It reconnects. It realigns. It reorganizes. And if you're here listening to this, it's not by chance. It's because that sound has already begun to move within you. It's approaching the surface. And in the next part, it will emerge. Not as a theory but as a felt revelation, because the sound has a name. It has a form. And when you chant it, everything around you will begin to respond. And then, finally, the sound reveals itself. Not as a secret arriving from outside, but as an inner recognition. A sound that doesn't need to be learned, only remembered. And its name is this, I am. This isn't about a common identity statement. It's not the I am you use to describe yourself day to day. Like when you say, I am tired. I am anxious. I am limited. That's just mental noise. Here we're talking about something else. A sacred sound, a vibrational code, a primordial vibration that connects you to what the ancients called the source. This I am is not a description. It's an activation. When you chant this sound with full awareness, something begins to reorganize inside. The surface layers of the mind that once dominated begin to quiet down, and something deeper takes their place. It's not an emotion. It's a presence. It's not an idea, it's a frequency. And this frequency doesn't just calm you. It transforms your energetic structure. It reorders your subtle fields. Your body responds. Your magnetic field aligns. And your mind, for the first time in a long time, exits survival mode. That constant tension, that directionless rush, that unexplained exhaustion. It all begins to melt, because the right sound is occupying the right space inside you. Science has already begun to glimpse this. The magnetic field of the heart, for example, changes when you speak certain words with true intention. And among all of them, the sound I am is the one that causes the deepest impact. That's because it's not trying to create something new. It's reminding you of something that's always existed, something you forgot but never lost. And this is where Thoth's wisdom becomes even stronger. He said that the word is the bridge between the invisible and the real. It doesn't matter what you intellectually believe. What matters is what you affirm with truth. Because everything you affirm with coherence, you embody. Not just energetically, but biologically. The vibration of your voice affects the water in your body, the communication between your cells, the expression of your genes. But there's one detail that changes everything. It's not enough to repeat, I am, like a spiritual parrot. It's not enough to memorize the phrase. The sound must come from a specific place, the center of your presence. That's where many people get lost. They want to repeat it to attract something. They repeat it with anxiety, with urgency, with fear that it won't work. And that's the problem, because the universe doesn't respond to what you say with your lips. It responds to what you vibrate with your being. Chanting I am with coherence is a state, an alignment between what you say, what you feel, and what you emanate. When those three come together, the sound becomes a bridge. And the bridge brings you back inward, back to the point of origin, back to the place where you left your truth. And why chant for 55 seconds? Because it's not just about making a sound. It's about sustaining the frequency. The human energy field takes time to shift from mental noise to a deeper vibrational state. And 55 seconds is the minimum time needed for the sound to not just touch but integrate, for your biological system to register, for your energy field to restructure. During those seconds, the mind tries to resist. It gets distracted, questions. It interrupts. But if you hold steady, something changes. An opening happens. It's like passing through an inner fog. You feel the body warm up. The breath releases. The vibration begins to spread like silent waves. And when you realize it, you're no longer repeating a word. You are the word. That's the key. The sound I am is not a technique. It's a vibrational identity. When chanted with presence, it activates a memory that was dormant. And with it, a power that the world tried to convince you didn't exist. The power to create with awareness, to live with presence, to command your own frequency. And it's from here that everything really starts to shift. Because this sound doesn't act alone. Prepares the ground. It activates the field. But there's a reason it's considered Thoth's most dangerous sound. And that reason is about to be revealed. Why 55 seconds? The science of prolonged frequency. This is exactly where many people get it wrong. When they hear that they should chant the sound for 55 seconds, they think it's just some made-up mystical number, some random esoteric whim. But it's not. It's not superstition. It has foundation. It has logic. And now, finally, science is beginning to catch up to what the ancients already knew in practice, without needing labs or devices. Because the body feels before the mind understands. When you emit a sound frequency consistently for about a minute, your internal system enters a state of coherence. And what is that? It's when the heart, the mind, and the body begin to vibrate together in sync. That's the moment when the chaos of anxiety gives way to focus, when the internal noise goes quiet, and when the body, which until then had been in defense mode, starts to shift into a state of regeneration. This has a name: cardiac coherence. It's when your breath, your heartbeat, and your vibration move in the same rhythm. The autonomic nervous system, the one that controls unconscious processes like digestion, sleep, and immunity, begins to slow down. It stops running as if in danger and starts operating as if safe. The body understands it can heal because it has exited the state of alert. From that point on, something even deeper happens. The vagus nerve is activated. This nerve is not just any nerve. It connects the brain with the heart, lungs, and gut. It's like a communication cable between the mind and the body, and it only activates in states of inner peace. When that happens, hormones like serotonin and dopamine begin to be released, but not because of an external stimulus. Because of your internal vibration. That's why 55 seconds is the minimum required time, because it takes a few seconds for your field to exit a surface state. At first, the mind tries to take over. The noise is still there. The thoughts are still racing. But if you persist, if you hold the sound for a few more seconds, the field begins to change. The sound passes through the mind and reaches the body, and the body responds. That's when the brain waves start to shift. The fast frequencies typical of tension and distraction begin to give way to deeper waves. In a short time, gamma waves activate. These are the same waves found in advanced meditative states. And they don't just bring calm, they bring clarity, a kind of soft yet powerful lucidity, a state of expanded awareness that doesn't require effort. It's like you're tuning into something that's always been there, but only now you're able to perceive it. Thoth knew this. He taught that sound is the vehicle of consciousness. That sacred repetition is a bridge between the visible and the invisible. And that true transformation doesn't happen when the sound is heard. It happens when it is sustained with intention, when it penetrates not just the ears but the bones, the cells, the field. You may think 55 seconds is a short time, but try doing it with presence. You'll realize that this short span of time has the power to reorganize things that have been out of alignment for years. Because sound doesn't need a long time. It needs truth, focus, surrender. And if you give that to it, it gives back in the form of balance, expansion, and release. That's why repeating the sound I am for 55 seconds is not just a decorative ritual. It's both a spiritual and physiological technology. It's neural reprogramming. It's energetic cleansing. It's recalibration of your electromagnetic field. It's like pressing a button that resets the entire system, but with one crucial detail. That button only works if you're fully there inside the vibration, present in the sound, not in a rush to finish. And that's exactly what the ancients did. They didn't count time like someone watching a clock. They felt time in the body. They felt the moment the frequency shifted. And when it did, they knew the bridge had opened. The portal was active. And in that state, creation began. But now is the time to be even more attentive. Because if chanting the sound with coherence already reorganizes your field, imagine what happens when that frequency starts to affect your relationship with the external world. The sound you emit begins to alter the reality around you. And that's why Thoth called it the most dangerous sound of all. And now comes the most sensitive point. The part that never reaches people through conventional books or public speeches. Because if the sound that reorganizes the body is already powerful, the sound that reorganizes reality is seen as a threat. And that's what I am awakens when chanted with presence. It doesn't just heal. It breaks structures, and structures that were built to keep you disconnected cannot survive the sound that restores your origin. Just imagine for a moment if every human being knew that by holding the right sound for 55 seconds, they could access their original energy, without intermediaries, without dogmas, without imposed rituals. What would happen to the systems that rely on fear, on guilt, on submission? There would no longer be a need for anyone to tell you what you must be. There would be no more control based on scarcity, judgment, or separation. You would no longer need to seek permission to live fully, because you would remember that you already are, that you always were, and that the sound is the trigger that awakens that memory in the body, not in theory. And that's exactly why the sound had to be hidden. Thoth didn't suppress it out of malice. He protected it because he knew that, in the wrong hands, it could be distorted, turned into a weapon used to manipulate instead of liberate. That's why he coded it. He hid the true sound within symbols, geometries, myths, and metaphors. Because only those who were ready, those who truly searched with a clean heart, would be able to decipher it. The right sound destroys the veil of illusion. Not just the spiritual veil, but the social, mental, and emotional ones too. It dissolves the idea that you need to achieve something to be. It undoes the conditioning that made you believe your worth depends on external approval. It breaks the logic of lack. Because when you chant with presence, you're not asking, you're vibrating. And those who vibrate do not beg. Those who vibrate manifest. That's why this is the most dangerous sound of all, because it ends dependency, cuts the cord of manipulation. It restores sovereignty to the individual. And no empire can withstand awakened beings vibrating with truth. No control system is compatible with a collective field in vibrational coherence, because control depends on fear, and fear cannot survive where there is presence. Now it starts to become clear why you've never heard this like you're hearing it now, because it's not profitable for you to discover that your vibration is more powerful than any external decree, that your voice aligned with your truth has more impact than 1,000 memorized words, that the simplest sound in the world, I am, when chanted with coherence, is more transformative than any sophisticated technique or spiritual product. Thoth left clues, and they all point to the same place. The awakening of the self is a return, not an achievement. The sound doesn't give you something new. It reminds you of what you already are. It activates what has always been within you, waiting for you to stop asking for permission and start owning your vibration. And when that happens, the universe changes its language. It stops responding to you with scarcity because you stopped vibrating lack. It stops echoing resistance because you stopped hiding old stories. You begin to vibrate truth. And truth doesn't need to shout. It only needs to resonate. And this is the point where everything truly changes. Because now it's no longer about knowing the sound. It's about practicing it, about sustaining it, about living it in the body, in the breath, in the energy. The final practice, the 55-second chant. The moment has come when knowledge stops being just information and becomes living practice. Because it's no use understanding with the mind if the body doesn't feel. And now that the field is sensitive and receptive, it's time to activate. Sit with your spine upright, not in a rigid posture, but an awakened one. Like someone who makes themselves available for something subtle yet deep. Close your eyes, if you'd like, or keep them softly open. What matters is that your attention is here in the now fully. Take a deep breath 3 times. The first, as if the air is clearing out the noise. The second, as if it's making space between your thoughts. The third, as if it's pushing out everything that doesn't vibrate with your essence. Now, with your breath slower, bring your right hand to the center of your chest. That point between the heart and the throat is known by many names. But here, it's the home of your original vibration. It's where the word is born before it leaves the mouth. And that's where you'll focus your presence. You won't repeat anything mechanically. You'll vibrate with intention. You'll let the sound rise from within, not from your throat. And when you chant, do it like this. I am. Each cycle around 5 seconds. You can use the rhythm of a full breath. Inhale. Chant as the air leaves. And when it ends, breathe again. Do this 11 times. That's all it takes. 11 full vibrations. 55 seconds. That will reorganize your field. But pay attention. Don't expect fireworks. Don't try to feel something extraordinary. Because the most powerful thing is exactly what feels too subtle to notice. The vibration starts working in the silence, in the space between thoughts, in the layers you can't reach with logic. And if at any moment the mind tries to say nothing is happening, just keep going. Because what matters isn't what you perceive, it's what your field is absorbing. And it knows. It recognizes. It responds. When you finish, don't break the silence. Stay for a few moments in presence, feeling, observing without interpreting. It's in that space between sound and silence that the reorganization happens. That's where the energy settles, the field restructures, the vibrational memory reactivates. And maybe you'll feel a different kind of calm. Not the calm that comes from tiredness, but the calm that comes from reunion, from return, as if something that was scattered came back to center. As if your vibration was saying silently, "Now I remember." The true miracle is not what you see. It's what you stop forgetting. Because this practice doesn't bring you something new. It lifts the veils that were hiding what's always been there. The sound I am is not just a statement. It's a vibrational signature. It's the name your soul recognizes as origin. It's the frequency that connects you with what exists beyond time, beyond form, beyond ego. And now that you remember, there's no way to live the same way. Because when the field changes, everything changes. The way people respond to you changes. The way you feel in environments changes. The way synchronicities happen changes. Not because the outside world magically transformed, but because you stopped vibrating like someone searching and started vibrating like someone who already is. If you made it this far, that already says a lot. Maybe this sound has been alive in you for longer than you think. So, write this in the comments. I am the living memory. That way, we anchor this vibration together and activate this collective field of reconnection. And if you want to support this channel more directly, there's a contribution link in the first pinned comment that helps this content reach more people. And don't leave the video just yet. There's a special piece of content I set aside just for those who made it to the end. It's a bonus video that shows you how to open glow life in your body with just 2 fingers. It's real. It's on the screen now. Click it and I'll see you there.